New York Judge Juan Merchan agreeing to delay former President Trump's sentencing in his New York case. He will consider the Supreme Court's new ruling on presidential immunity. The sentencing could have come as soon as next week. It was scheduled for July 11th, but now it's been pushed back until at least September. Democrat lawmakers still reacting to the Supreme Court's decision. Senator Elizabeth Warren writing on X, Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell stole 2 seats on the Supreme Court, and we're living with the consequences. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's time to expand the court. Let's bring in Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles. He's a member of the House Financial Services Committee and the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, good morning. So you also have New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who says that when you are back in session, which is next week, she's going to call for articles of impeachment against the Supreme Court justices. Your reaction?
Well, this is absolutely ridiculous. You know, obviously the president should have immunity, but what they're trying to do is to make this conversation about Donald Trump. They're facing an election where their candidate, Joe Biden, can't win. Their backup candidate, Kamala Harris, her numbers are even worse. Neither of them are the future of the party. So they're in panic mode because they rode this horse too close to the election, and now they're stuck. And so the comments from the left, I think, are reckless. They're dangerous. Of course, a president is going to have immunity. He's working with the military. He's defending our interest around the globe. He's defending our allies around the globe. They're going to have that type of protection, and any other kind of conclusion but that is really absurd.
Well, there's a lot happening in Washington. The word disarray is one that we've already used this morning on the program. And there's this now new NBC News report that claims that Hunter Biden has been joining White House meetings with advisors and staying very close to President Biden. All of this in the wake of that debate last Thursday, the disaster of the debate. Politico is reporting Hunter was one of the loudest voices that's been pushing Biden to stay in the race. Here is the White House facing questions about it. Watch.
Is he participating in meetings with senior advisors?
What I can say is that he came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room. That I can tell you, he was in the room.
Congressman, your reaction to that?
Well, again, it's no surprise that the Biden crime family wants to stay in power. I think it's probably very predictable that Hunter wants his dad to be in the White House. His best option for protection and immunity going forward is his dad in the White House. And so the moment that you have a change of regimes, you're going to have a change of personnel. And suddenly Hunter is not going to have the umbrella and the protection of his father. And so it's not a surprise that we're seeing this. It's not a surprise that he's in the room. It's not a surprise that Jill Biden is in the room for a lot of these types of meetings. But what you see is a president of the United States that is not in control of his faculties. He's not running the country. His advisors are, and which, quite frankly, in my opinion, is a constitutional issue.
Well, now on the other side of the aisle from you, two of your House colleagues on the Democratic side are now calling for Biden to drop out of the race. Jared Golden of Maine and Lloyd Doggett of Texas. There's also a new report from Reuters that claims there could be at least 25 Democrats who are calling for Biden to step aside, and they will do so, in particular if he seems shaky in the next few days. Congressman, do you think that President Biden is going to drop out of this race?
Well, shaky in the next few days. What about shaky for the last year? Oh, my goodness. Myself and many others for over a year now have been saying that Joe Biden is not fit for office and that it wouldn't be a surprise if they replaced him. Now, right after this debate performance where his cognitive decline was on full display, now they're paying attention. Now they recognize that there's a problem. Look, I was the first Republican that spoke to him at the State of the Union when he walked into the room. And look, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the lights were on and nobody was home. And so now they're faced with this election. So could they replace him at their convention? Yes, they could. But then the problem is the money. They've raised all this money for the Biden-Harris campaign. They can't win with Joe Biden, and they know they can't win with Kamala Harris. So then they're faced with the problem of the FEC rules and what do they do with all the money they've raised. And the candidate that would replace him and or her would start from zero.
Well, I have to push back on that just a little bit because, and this is a CNN poll, 2 things, okay? There's a 538 poll that's got her approval rating, Harris's, above Biden. She's at 39.4. He's now at 37.5. So that's one issue, just to point this out. The other is the CNN poll that finds that if it was a matchup between Trump and Harris, that it's a narrower margin. Trump is still ahead, but only by 2 points. If it's Biden and Trump, it's worse. So I guess my point to you is, on the Republican side, you want Joe Biden to stay on the ticket.
Well, I think in either case, you know, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, neither of them can defeat Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the superior candidate. And quite frankly, when you look at the issues, the southern border is wide open, and there's a fentanyl crisis across the country. You just had a 12-year-old girl raped and murdered in Texas, a 13-year-old girl raped in New York. All across the country, we're seeing crime spike because of illegal. So that's one issue, and Republicans do better on that issue. Then you have, this is a pocketbook election, inflation, the cost of groceries, the cost of fuel, everything's more expensive to live in a household under Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And so when you look at the two main issues that again, across the country, whether it's a blue district or a red district, we're winning on those issues. And so I think the electorate is going to ask the question, who's going to fix the border? Who's going to fix the economy? Right. And the Republicans have the answer. The Republicans have the solutions. Republicans are going to prevail in November.
There is still a lot of concern about the state of our country right now with the current president in office because of his faculties. I want you to listen to what Carl Bernstein said about the president's current mental state.
These are people, several of them, who are very close to President Biden, who love him, have supported him, and they are adamant that what we saw the other night, the Joe Biden we saw, is not a one-off, that there have been 15, 20 occasions in the last year and a half when the president has appeared somewhat as he did in that horror show, including some reporters, incidentally, who have witnessed some of them.
Can Joe Biden finish his presidency, Congressman?
Well, again, I think that's the question. I don't think the 25th Amendment will be invoked, and I would, hold the line saying that Kamala Harris, once she's on the debate stage, once she's out there campaigning, her numbers will plummet because, she's not as smooth and polished as, say, Gavin Newsom is, or maybe even Gretchen Whitmer. And so once she's out there, face forward, I think people will see her for who she is. And quite frankly, again, I think Donald Trump, when you compare the two, will shine just in the same way he shined against Joe Biden. Now, look, that bar was low because of Biden's cognitive decline, but Donald Trump held the line. He stuck to the issues. He didn't make it personal, and that's what the American people were wanting to see. And again, anecdotally, you go back to the rally that Donald Trump had in New Jersey, where 107,000 people showed up in New Jersey. I'm not talking about red Tennessee or red Florida. I'm talking about New Jersey, and that, again, is a testimony to the American people are sick and tired of this administration. They're sick and tired of the open border, and they're sick and tired of the crime. They want hope and change, which is to make America great again.
Congressman Andy Ogles, thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you have a great 4th of July. We'll see you soon.
You as well. God bless.